Alright, hey everybody, this is the lesson for section 4.3. So 4.3 is all about this kind of acronym right here. We say CPCTC. CPCTC. Alright, what that means is corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Alright, so today's lesson and then the next couple lessons for basically the rest of chapter 4 is on what we know about congruent triangles. Alright, so what it means when triangles are congruent, that means they're the same exact triangle. Alright, so it's kind of self-explanatory when you think about like the name of CPCTC, but if we know two triangles are congruent, that means all of their different parts are the same. Alright, so the example we're given is, it tells us triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Alright, so what that means, if we look, and the order of those letters matter, like the order of these letters in the triangle, they match up. So A and D, those angles are the same. B and E, since they're both the middle letter, those are both the same. Like that, and then C and F are also the same. Alright, so it matches up. Alright, then the other way to think about it, it's not just angles, but the sides are also congruent. So A to B and D to E are the same. A to B, D to E are the same. And then we also know B to C and E to F are the same. B, C, E, F. And that means the last one, the long side here, is congruent. Alright, so that's what 4.3 is. We're talking about corresponding parts. That means just the parts that line up with each other are congruent. If those two triangles are congruent. If we were to flip this triangle and kind of turn it, if you were to kind of rotate it, it will line up exactly with that triangle. Alright, so moving on. That's just the definition. It says two triangles are congruent if and only if their corresponding parts are congruent. So that's what we're getting into. The next couple lessons and days that we'll do, we'll get into what we need to know in order to prove that triangles are congruent. But for now today, we are just looking at each part of a triangle. And if they're the same, then those triangles are congruent. Next, it says name the corresponding congruent angles and sides. Alright, so we have two triangles here, and we are given that like this side and this side are the same. So that's what I'm going to write. I'm just going to write down all the different parts that I know are the same. So I know AC is congruent to CE, like that. I also know AB is congruent to DE. Also, I know with the two little tick marks, I know BC is congruent to DC. Alright, so that's it for the sides. And then next, with the angles, we know that this angle and this angle are the same. So I'm going to go angle ACB is congruent to angle DCE. I also know that angle A and E are the same because they're both the angle being made by those two sides there. So I'm going to just go, I can just name that angle A is congruent to angle E. Actually, let's be precise. We would go angle CAB is congruent to angle DEC. And last, we have angle ABC is congruent to angle EDC. Alright, there we go. Sorry, it took a long time. So, and then next it says name the congruent triangles. And remember, like I said, with this, order does matter. Order of the letters that you write do matter for triangles. Alright? Because then you know what sides line up with each other. So I'm going to say triangle ABC is congruent to, let's figure this out, ABC. So EDC. Oops, got the triangle. EDC. Alright, so those two triangles are congruent. That's how we would write that answer. Next, properties of congruent triangles. We don't really need to talk about that. That just is referring to how properties of congruent triangles, like reflexive property, symmetric property, and transitive property all apply to these triangles, but we don't need to get into that because we won't be getting into proofs of these problems. Alright, so next, I don't think this has it on your notes, but you can fill in these pictures here. All this is saying is if you have two triangles that, here, let me show you. Let's say I have this triangle and I want to duplicate it. I have two different triangles and I know that they're the same. If I rotate it, right, it's still the same triangle. Right, that's what that's saying. If you rotate it, or if you flip it, or if you just slide it, that still means that they're congruent triangles. Alright, so if congruent triangles get transformed, remember you can either slide, rotate, or reflect. They are still congruent. Alright, so that's actually, we won't be doing the proof. So that is actually it for 4.3. Kind of a quick lesson, but remember, all you need to know, if you have two triangles that are congruent, that means all of their corresponding parts, or all their corresponding sides and angles, are all the same. Alright, so we'll get into more of what we know about congruent triangles, how we can prove congruent triangles in the next couple lessons. Alright, thanks for listening. Peace.